Welcome to the Solemn Vanguard channel. Today we have another stream, and God, finally, we had another stream that actually mattered, you know, a spicy one, a solid one. So how about you like this video, just because of how spicy that stream is. Now, don't forget the Butterfly the Moonlight pre-orders are up right now. So if you're in Europe and you need Grand Blue, DI, Murakumo, or Pale Moon support, Claret cards has full clan bundles right now. Link in the description, you can use the code Solemn for a discount. Beyond that, we also have this beautiful playmat available on zerodamagegaming.com today. And of course, once again, you can use the code Solemn to get some percentages off. Some news that we didn't expect that quickly: we got an emergency restriction list. There were quite some issues people had been crying about. Whether that crying was justified or not, I'll leave it at that. But if you looked at results from WGP and so forth from Japan, Luard was basically an unstoppable tier 0 deck. Remember Riviere or remember early Melody? That was the kind of damage Luard was doing. You essentially had to go first and then auto won every single time. Luard mirrors were just dice rolls. Even if it didn't superior ride and high roll, it still had so much value on top of that. So even its low roll was insane. It got to a point where they published like a top 9 of a WGP and 7 of that was Luard. Representation turned into 50% Luard because of how insane it was. And so today, 2 weeks after release or something, they did something about it. Again, big props. On one hand, you could say, oh, it's so awful that they didn't catch this during R&D, and I kind of agree. But then at the same time, you gotta give them props for trying to fix it so quickly. So they saw the results and they were like, damn, okay, we better have to change some things. So that's good, you know. They were quick with Cezanne, now they're quick with Luard. It shows they really help both formats and try to keep it fair and balanced. So the hit for Luard is Nomine can no longer be in the same deck as Luard. Was this the right hit? I agree it needed to be hit in some way because of how insane it was. But is Nomine the right one? Because think about this. The big issue was it had endless value, and then on top of that, it could high roll with a superior ride. And that high roll was actually super consistent because Nomine could search you everything. You know, Nomine would get you something to find Blaster Dark, you would ride Blaster Dark, then Nomine would get you the thing to superior ride, and boom. You didn't even have to play a big package. You literally played your 4 Nomine, which you played anyway, 1 Phantom Blaster Dragon, 1 Bende, and one the other thing. So 4 extra cards, slot it in, boom, you have a superior ride super consistently. And so by running Nomine, you reached those pieces. Now here's the question. Do you actually solve the issue this way? Because, like, they can still play the superior ride. They just can't play in the main. So they can now take out the mains and add the Bendes to replace her, essentially. They already ran 4 Blaster Darks very often. So they'll still be, you know, consistent to superior ride. However, on the flip side, they now lose the value engine that is the main. So we now have 2 sides of the argument. I've been checking people in Discords and on Facebook and Twitter and so forth. And so some people are saying, this doesn't fix anything. They will still have the superior ride, they'll still be broken. Then you have the other side that says, well, without Nomine, Luard is dead. So there's people who are saying it's still tier 0, and there's people that are saying, nah, it's unplayable now. So, well, not unplayable, but, you know, not even close to high tier. And so the question will be which one, you know, will be the correct one. I'm gonna assume it's gonna be somewhere in the middle. It'll probably be bottom of tier 1, maybe top of tier 2, something like that. We'll see. Again, I haven't tested it with the restriction because it just came out. No one even knew it would get restricted that quickly. Now, the other thing I was considering, damn, this is a big feels bad for people who bought Nomine to play it in Luard. That card for a playset was about $160. There were people who just scooped her up, hoping they would get to play her, and that is no longer the case. However, you can still play her in premium. If you want to play Luard premium, you can still do that with the 4 Nomines. You are still perfectly safe there. But yeah, in standard, it's a big no-no. Now, the other thing, and they didn't mention this on stream, but it was on the Japanese Bushiroad site, is that George had an errata going to once per turn. Now, if you don't know what's up with George, essentially, all hell broke loose because Mr. George was shown, and essentially, he created some infinite loops in Aqua Force in Premium. And so some people were saying, oh, it's super broken, blah, 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 before testing. Before we even had any results or any testing or anything, really, Bushiroad just came out and said, like, okay, stop. That's not even gonna exist now, a hard once per turn. Now, once again, this is pretty funny because there were people who were buying out Commander Tavas, the old Stride, which created a loop with George. That card went up and up and up because of all those people buying it out. So if you bought out Commander Tavas, I feel bad for you, son. If you just bought Nomine to want to play, I feel actually bad for you because, you know, you were just investing in the card you actually wanted to play in your deck. But if you were doing buyouts because of like some loop, you just suck and now you got fucked. If you actually bought it just because you wanted to play it, I feel bad for you as well. But if you were doing buyouts, not so much. So now we get to actual card reveals. See, it's been really eventful so far. So first of all, we have Stealth Beast Tobitachi. It is essentially a grade 3 searcher for Shiranui. So it says continuous on R during your turn. If you have a token unit, all of your token units and this unit get power plus 5k. So that's free as hell. And auto on V and R, if your and your opponent's Vanguard have the same grade, this ability's cost may be played with Soul Blast 1. When placed, cost Counterblast 1, look at 7 cards from the top of your deck, reveal up to 1 card with Shiranui in its card name from among them, and put it into your hand, then shuffle your deck. So we've seen some clans get this, essentially an even more specific searcher for their main ride. That is pretty cool consistency buff. Then we saw our Shiranui, its first Vanguard skill. The Vanguard Twitter didn't even post the skill, but what it essentially does is it fixes your ride. It will allow you to ride the other Shiranui. Notice how this is just a triple R, and this will let you ride the VR. That way get some protecty marker, boys. Oh yeah. And then its second skill is auto on R when it attacks a Vanguard. If you have a Vanguard with Shiranui in its card name, this unit gets power plus 10k until end of turn. Then at the end of that battle, put this unit into your soul, draw a card, choose up to one of your opponent's rear guards, and return it to his or her hand. If it was returned, your opponent chooses a card from his or her hand and discards it. That is a strong skill. This isn't super flashy, but note how it gains 10k, vanishes into your soul, you then draw a card, and then you minus your opponent. So this is just everything in one. This is a big beat stick that fuels soul, makes you less susceptible to board wipes and maybe a Gradora marker and all that stuff, and then also draws you so it self-replaces, and then also minuses your opponent. Like, holy shit, this card is good. This card is just value town. And that isn't even like our main ride. The main ride for Nubatama is Demon Stealth Dragon Shironui Oboro. So the other one is Shiranui whatever. And this is Shiranui Oboro. During your turn, if you have 2 or more cards in your soul with Shiranui in their cards names, this unit gets power plus 15k, and you perform drive checks for the battles your Mask of Domination token attacked. So again, Mask of Domination token, we have another pretty gimmicky thing that we'll go over, but essentially it gets some value once you have Shiranuis in soul. And notice how your grade 3 other Shiranui goes to soul, so you'll actually reach this pretty quickly. The other one gives you your rewrite thing and then also goes to soul himself. So, you know, this first thing, while it looks like it's tied behind rewriting, it barely cares about manually rewriting. And the other skill, this is going to be a ruling fuckfest. Act on V once per turn, cost Counterblast 1 and discard a card from your hand. Choose a unit card from your opponent's rearguard circle or drop zone and bind it. If you bound a card, call a Mask of Domination token to your back row center rearguard. And until end of turn, that token gets the original grade, power, critical, and abilities of the card bound by this effect and can attack from your back row center rearguard circle. At the end of that turn, remove that token. You are binding a rearguard or something from your opponent's drop. This is in case they don't have rearguard, something like a Grand Blue. Then you call a Mask of Domination that's essentially a mirror image of that card to your back row, and it gets to attack with all of the bonuses and power and everything. And then at the end of the turn, it vanishes. On top of that, your Oboro gets 15k and an extra drive if you have the necessary Shiranuis in soul for that Mask of Domination token. So the only way this skill gets stopped, let's say, is by not having CB. Beyond that, you can always use it, unless you can't do the discard, of course. And then you just have value. Like, you push extra hard. Something like Grand Blue will also not like this at all, because you run quite some one-offs, and then this will just bind them from the drop zone. That's gonna hurt, especially in Standard. Like, in Premium, Grand Blue has like 4 Skull Dragons and 2 attack extenders and so forth. But in standard, people are rocking like the 1 Skull Dragon and stuff like that. If we see Nubatama go heavy in the meta, something like Grand Blue will have to run more copies of their key cards. Overall, this feels pretty fucking strong. I may be looking wrong, but on stream it also looked like that domination token got drive checks. I don't know if that's the case. Maybe I'm looking wrong. I don't know if drive checks like twin drive counts as abilities. I don't want to say wrong things in this video, but it looked like that. I don't want to make a call on that, but it looks pretty strong. But yeah, that was all for today. Hope you found this interesting. Be sure to smash like and subscribe. And of course, you can still go to Claret Cards for your Butterfly the Moonlight pre-orders, and also go to Zero Damage Gaming for this beautiful playmat. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and I will see you soon. Ciao.
Preserve!